Well, folks, what we just saw was a bona fide classic playoff game.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. I've been a baseball podcaster for a while now, and this is my sixth full season talking baseball here on the Locked On Podcast Network. And you can follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or on Instagram. And you can follow me. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter or whatever it's called now. And Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. If you're listening every single day, and if you also listen to Locked On A's every day, I'm not doing that anymore, but I did for the season. Make sure to leave that hashtag everyday Sully. Helps us know. I can't even talk. That's how exciting tonight's game was. Who's listening to the freaking podcast? Today's episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.com, more like Booking. Yeah, the right state can make you a fan of any city. If you're a Met fan, it can make you a fan of Philadelphia. If you're a Dodger fan, it can make you a fan of San Diego. Book today at Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Get the Booking.com app today. Well, let me just say, I'm going to start today's podcast with a listener comment, and it is from 423JMO. It said exactly the type of game you were saying it needed to be. Absolutely. And with one game, with one swing of the bat, the wild card series format got its legitimately first classic game. Yes, we've had some walk-off games. We had a walk-off home run. We've had some good pitcher's duels. But we haven't had that two teams locking antlers, the season on the line in this series until tonight. We had a game 3 a few years ago where San Diego shut out the Mets, and it looked like for the second time in the history of the wild card format, the only time it would get to a third game, it would end with the Mets not scoring the run. But as Jeff Cohen asked me to do, can I get a let's go Mets? Oh, I don't want to seem biased. Miguel Ledesma says, let's go Mets, baby. I must admit, I was ready to concede. Of course you were ready to concede. The Mets bats looked, with the exception of Lindor, looked dead from the neck up. Excuses, I might get the sniffles here, right? I went right into this. Let me just go over the nitty and also the gritty. Through 6 innings, it was Smoltz Morris Game 7, Minnesota Atlanta all over again. No score through 6. That's happened a couple of times in a do or die game. Happened in the 1968 World Series when Bob Gibson and Lolich locked antlers in Game 7. It happened in the aforementioned 91 World Series when Jack Morris and John Smoltz did the same. And Mets fans remembered in 2016 in the wild card game. Whoops, something fell on my desk. I'm not even going to edit that out. I can't. I'm doing this live. Noah Syndergaard and Madison Bumgarner went scoreless actually into the 9th in that game. Well, this was a game, and Myers pitched the first 5 innings for Milwaukee, and they lifted him. Now, I have to say something. Through the course of this game, I have a little bit of the sniffles, so you got to bear with me for a second. For the bulk of this game, I wondered why the Brewers didn't let Myers throw 6 innings. You know, Myers threw 66 pitches. And come on, it's a do or die game. But I could not argue with the results. Miguel pitched a scoreless inning with no hits. Mears, scoreless innings, no hits. Freddie Peralta came out and threw a scoreless inning, no hits. And they brought Williams out to pitch the 9th. So I can't fault Murphy for pulling his pitcher when essentially They got to the ninth inning with their all-star closer on the mound. You would ask a genie for that if you were a Milwaukee fan. The Mets had Quintana, and Quintana can roll, man. 94 pitches, over 6 innings, no runs, 4 hits, 5 strikeouts. Because it's a do or die game, I probably would have let him pitch the 7th, because I'm just a big believer in, pushing your pitchers, because you don't want to put yourself in a situation if this went extra innings and you burnt through all your pitchers in a do or die game. But Buto came out and he stunk. He let up 2 home runs. Now, Diaz came out. He did walk a couple batters, but he struck out 3 in an inning and 2/3. But when they went to the 9th inning and Williams was on the mound, and the Mets could not rally except for Lindor, who going into the 9th inning was the only one who got a hit in the entire Mets lineup. It just looked like, as Miguel Ledesma said, he was ready to concede. It looked like they were done. They looked done with a capital done. And the Brewers, I always try to do the kind of plan the podcast in my head before it goes out. And I started talking about all the positive things about the Brewers this and the Brewers that, and Pat Murphy this and Pat Murphy that, and all the different things that were about to come about with this Mets. And, the Mets losing again. And what does this mean for this? And what does that mean for that? And then Nimmo got the hit. And I have to say, even when Nimmo got the hit, and it was with 1 out, the only, you imagine things in your head. I did not imagine an Alonso homer. I have to be honest, I didn't. I thought maybe there was a chance he got a base hit to prolong the inning, to prolong the agony in all probability. But alas, he hit a fly ball to right field. Now, I will confess, I was in my car. I was picking my sons up. I'm in my car, and my kids do not care about baseball. It's one of the weirdest things that's happened to me. I have 2 boys. They don't care. And they were in my car as I was listening. And they were talking about Peter Parker and Miles Morales. They're college students and they love comic books. I'm listening over their very loud conversation. Now, I could have yelled, "Guys, shut up. It's the 9th inning of a playoff game." But I don't want to be that dad. I really don't. I'm driving. We're driving up to our house. We're taking the turn. And it's as we take the turn, and we're about 3 blocks away from my house, Alonso hit the home run. Just right around the time they were discussing some of the plot holes into the Spider-Verse. And I yelled out a primal scream when Pete Alonso hit the home run. Not because I'm a Mets fan. I'm not. Not because I have anything against the Brewers. I'm not. I let out that primal scream because, as it was alluded to by 423 JMO, this is exactly the type of game we needed to be. With that moment, the wild card round was redeemed. And we got our classic. We got our moment. This became the Pete Alonso home run game. And with that, the entire tone of this postseason has shot up like a fireworks show, because now we've had our first classic game. We've had good games, to be sure. Both of the games in Baltimore were very good. I'm not saying they weren't good games, but we've had our first classic. And now we can go on and see if we can get some more classics. Because, as I said last night, we needed to have this. And now we have the first moment of, let's face it, a great wild card round. All right. Let's hear from our good friends over at Tonal. Now, Tonal is that place to go if you need to work out. For those of us who thrive on getting stuff done, including workouts, every minute counts. That's why you need Tonal, the smart strength training system that takes the guesswork out of working out so you can make sure you're making the most of every rep. Even the most dedicated gym goers struggle with consistency, the commute, waiting for weights, other people's sweat. It makes skipping a workout very tempting. With Tonal, you can choose from thousands of workouts and train it in a way you actually enjoy at home. Tonal is the world's smartest and most effective strength training system that helps get you stronger. Powered by AI, Tonal learns with every rep so it can deliver workouts personalized just for you. Tonal learns from your movement and provides suggested weight recommendations for every move with detailed progress reports. They can even create personalized program and workout suggestions or recommendations based on your individual goals. It's like having a personal trainer at home with you, as Tonal will optimize every workout just for you. Unlike traditional gym equipment, Tonal uses adaptive digital weight to advance your training techniques. From professional athletes to a mom of three, Tonal is trusted by thousands who have become their strongest body. Right now, Tonal is offering listeners $200 off your total purchase with promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Tonal.com and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $200 off your purchase. That's Tonal.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $200 off. By the way, check out Ryan Finkelstein on Locked On Mets. I'm sure they're going crazy there. I'm sure they're having a lot of fun. I think I saw that they were going to be doing a live show. Maybe they're doing one at the exact same time that I am. I don't know. Neither do you, but we're having fun. We're having fun because guess what, folks? We have ourselves a classic. We have ourselves a classic. And now we can look forward to the division series. Now, first, let's take a quick peek at what this means for the National League Division Series, which all starts. There's no games tomorrow. That's criminal. But all right, we'll have 4 games on Saturday. And the Mets, because now look, I don't know who the hell the Mets are going to start. I honestly don't know, because they brought David Peterson out of the bullpen and he got his first major league save. Way to go, David Peterson. They used Peterson and Jose Quintana. They used Sean Manaea the other day, Luis Severino the other day. I'm guessing they're going to go Tyler McGill in game 1. I don't know. It's just going to be banana boats. It's going to be absolutely banana boats, and I love every second of it. But the Phillies are waiting. Now, we're going to see, is it better to have gotten the bye? We have yet to determine whether it's a bad thing to be waiting for the division series, because we've seen some moments where in some of the recent years with the wild card series, that the team that waits around may not be in a great position right there. Zach Wheeler is rested, ready, and waiting in the weeds for Lord knows who, pitching for the New York Metropolitans. Now, look, I've been picking the Philadelphia Phillies from the start of this season, and I don't really see a reason to back down from that prediction. I think that, I think that basically the Phillies are the team to beat, and until someone beats them, I'm going to keep saying that. Anytime you're going to start Zach Wheeler in a game like we had, I don't care who the Mets are throwing. And so I did indeed pick the Phillies in the division series, and I'm going to stand by it. But do you know what? Bet against the Mets at your own peril. They've had an entire week of facing elimination games. My cousin Dave, who's a diehard Mets fan, sent me things like, it's felt like all week they've been facing elimination, but today they actually did. They faced elimination, they stared it down, and here we go. By the way, let's take my wild card series picks. I picked the Royals to defeat the Orioles 2-0. That turned out to be right. I picked the Mets over the Brewers. I said 2-0. I was wrong about that, but I was right that the Mets won. I picked the Padres 2-0 over the Braves, and I picked the Astros 2-1 over the Tigers. So I went I went 3 for 4 in my wild card series results. But I picked the Astros to lose the division series. So all my division series picks are still up. I have the Yankees defeating the Royals 3-1, Guardians defeating the Astros 3-2, Dodgers defeating the Padres 3-2, and I have the Phillies sweeping the Mets. So don't be mad at me, Met fans. I have the Phillies sweeping you. Prove me wrong. Now, while I have Los Angeles beating San Diego in my predictions, and for some reason, there's a couple people who think I've been hating on the Dodgers. I did a podcast from Dodger Stadium a couple weeks ago saying the Dodgers pitching staff needs to be cut and paste because they don't have the depth that you would expect. And someone said I was recommended to this show by. Actually, did I bring this up already? It was absolutely bananas comment, and I think it was worth with me again. It was, I used to appreciate your this is from Night Goat 666. He said, I don't know if I could watch or listen to your takes anymore after this episode. It sucks because Locked On Dodgers recommended your show, but I wonder if they still would if they knew how much you talk badly about the Dodgers. I didn't talk badly about the Dodgers. I said they have depth issues in their pitching staff, which, let me check. They do. They do, with a capital do. Kershaw's not pitching. Glasnow's not pitching. Ohtani's not pitching. And you're not 100% sure what the hell you're going to get out of Yamamoto. The game one has Cease versus Yamamoto. I'm sorry, the Padres have the advantage in that game. And game two has Darvish versus Flaherty. I think that's a push. Flaherty has pitched quite well. He's had a couple bad games, and Darvish has been good, but he's coming back from injury. I think that in those first two games, one of them is clearly in San Diego's favor, and the other's a push. So should not stun anybody if this series went back tied 2-2 going to San Diego. But, I mean, I think Padres-Dodgers, that is going to be an absolute barn burner of a series because the Dodgers, we all know they have the best record in baseball. And they could go on a great run. But we've also seen how the Padres have played, especially in the last half of the season. They've been playing like a team possessed to win the pennant. And we saw what they did to Atlanta. So I do think the Mets are going to be overmatched by Philadelphia. That's not me hating the Mets. That's me respecting the Phillies. I think Padres-Dodgers is a borderline coin toss. I'm sticking by my picks that we're going to have a Dodgers and Philadelphia League Championship Series. But holy cow, it should be an absolute barn burner in the Southern California. As for the New York, Philadelphia, well, we're going to really see what the Mets are made out of. Today's episode of Locked On MLB is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.com, more like Booking.yeah. Explore cities all around the United States, especially as a baseball fan. Check out their stadium. Check out the cuisine. And with Booking.com's wide variety of choice across the U.S., you can go incognito to your rival city. Do you know what? I used Booking.com this summer. I went on a fabulous baseball trip. First, I went into Buffalo, and I checked out the Bisons when I was there. And by the way, Buffalo, beautiful city. Then over to Syracuse, where I saw the Syracuse Mets, stayed in a nice, safe hotel there. Then on my way to Cooperstown, where I stayed in a hotel right on the lake, but was still walking distance to the Baseball Hall of Fame. And I did all of it through Booking.com. Booking.com delivers exactly the right stay for you in this country. And Booking.com can help you book a stay that's so close to where you want to be. No matter what team you're rooting for this postseason, Booking.com can make you a fan of any U.S. city. From hotels that look over stadiums to that fabulous place I stayed in Cooperstown, Booking.com has so many choices. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your baseball rivals. Booking.com. Yeah, Booking.yeah. All right, let's take a quick peek at how the American League Division Series is going to be shaping up. We've known what these are going to be for a little bit. Now, as I said before, I picked Cleveland to beat Houston, but Houston, well, they have a problem. They got eliminated. They have the Guardians, and Bibee is going to be pitching for the Guardians. Now, the dreaded TBD is pitching for Detroit. So I guess it's not going to be Skubal. I guess Skubal is going to be probably pitching. Was it going to be on Monday? I don't know. Neither do you. But what I know is this: the Tigers are going to be leaning heavily on Skubal. The Guardians are going to be leaning heavily on their bullpen. And we know the Tigers and Hinch can do a very good job, playing the proverbial Rubik's Cube of bring this pitcher in, bring that pitcher in, and get far. But I think the Guardians are the worst matchup for them. If the Tigers were playing Kansas City or the Tigers were playing the Yankees, I think they'd have a good shot of winning. But the way the Guardians are set up, I just think it's a terrible matchup for the Detroit Tigers. And I mean, I don't see them going far. Now, of course, we've been underestimating the Tigers all year long, and it wouldn't stun me if they moved ahead just because of the wonderful things he does. But I like this Guardians team. Now, the game one of the Yankees-Royals is interesting. Walker is going to be pitching for Kansas City. Cole is going to be pitching for the Yankees. And game two is going to be Reagan's against Carlos Rodon. And in game three, the Royals are all but certain to be throwing Lugo. I think this is an incredibly evenly matched series. Do not sleep on Kansas City, but also don't think that the Yankees are necessarily going to fold. This is, I think, possibly the most evenly matched series in the division series. The Yankees, of course, have the best record in the American League. And since they took Clay Holmes out of the closer's role, they've played very well. Thank you very much. They've been using a truly unique system of the bullpen, which is let's bring in the best pitcher. Let's bring in the best pitcher for this moment. And you saw Weaver got a bunch of the saves, but they'll also mix and match. You saw Rodon pitch 4 some odd innings out of the bullpen at one point. So I'm going to make a bold prediction within a prediction. I think whoever wins game one of Kansas City, New York is going to wind up winning that series. Now, am I going to be a coward? Sure, I'll be a little bit of a coward. I picked in my prediction, I picked the Yankees over the Royals. And I'm going to stick by that because I think the Yankees are a good team. They're they went through the adversity in the middle part of the year, and they fixed the major bullpen problem, which was relying on Clay Holmes as if he was Mariano Rivera. Spoiler alert, he's not. Now, Adam Scott Bristol makes a good point that the Royals offense is far inferior to the Yankees. Fine, I grant you that. But I've also watched enough games in this year to see the Yankees bats can go dead, provided they figure out Soto and Judge. We've seen that happen this year. We've seen them go on spurts where, like, oh man, they're not hitting. They're not hitting. They are not hitting right now. And this is where the time off could come back. If they're rusty, if Judge and Soto aren't swinging the bats well, suddenly that's a split squad spring training lineup that they're throwing. If Judge and Soto are hitting well, then look out KC. And I really think it's come down to that. That's why I think game one is so important. It's going to be good pitching up and down in this series. But if the Yankees bats are rusty, Kansas City is going to take advantage of them. If they're not, the Yankees are going to win. I think the Yankees are going to win because Soto and Judge are professionals, and I think they're going to come out. But if they are slumping, look out. Look out. And there you go. By the way, Herman Izales, I think if that's how you pronounce your name. If I mispronounce it, I apologize. The Mets own the Phillies in the past. We can do it again. Absolutely, you can. You, Herman, I'm sure you're playing for the Mets. Yes, the Mets absolutely can win. And we've seen this left and right over the last bunch of years. A few years ago, Los Angeles absolutely dominated San Diego in the regular season, and San Diego wound up winning that series. Last year, you saw Arizona clobber the Dodgers, and you saw Texas beat the Astros in the League Championship Series. It's a short series. A lot of things can happen. Just look at the last bunch of National League champions, save the COVID year. The Nationals in 2019, Atlanta in 2021, Philadelphia 2022, Arizona last year. No, who picked any of them? Who picked any of them? Spoiler, nobody. So obviously some upsets can happen. Obviously, it's best of 5, not best of 162. But one thing is certain. We have had our first unbelievable classic game of this postseason. And the game, remember how I talked yesterday, how the 72 NLCS and ALCS redeemed the League Championship Series after it was a dud the first few years. And then the Division Series, the wildcard games, had their big classics pretty early in their run. Well, here we go. Finally, we have a wildcard series that was worth it. And we're all going to take a deep breath, take Friday off, and come back on Saturday with 4 playoff games on Saturday. So I'm going to be coming back after the weekend. We're going to recap the Saturday and Sunday games on Monday. So that's when you can expect the next episode of Locked On MLB. But follow us at Locked On MLB Pod on Twitter or whatever it's called now, and on Instagram. I am your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Talking about the game that redeemed the wild card series. This has been Locked On MLB for the 3rd day of October, 2024. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.